Who Put This On, Season 4, Episode 5, where we watch The Colony, Season 1, Episode 1. I'm Chris Lorenz.
What's up? I'm Chris Hayes, coming in from the East Coast, trying to pick up some West Coast vibes.
All right. Welcome, guest. He could not stay quiet enough.
Maximilian Mongrelius Middleton, Princess of
Just cut
Duchess of Kingington.
Are you done, Max?
Yes.
This is Noah.
Hey, Noah.
Harrison Hoffman.
AB.
Wow. He always does that. He always does that.
Chris, shut up. You gotta look for the point. You gotta look for the point.
It's hard to share. It's hard to share a microphone.
I agree.
There's some kind of tight show here. Got a lot of boys. One
All right,
girl.
guys.
I
Again,
have to
can
wedge
we
my way in.
Can we do?
What's my name?
Yes.
AB Colonist.
Whoa.
All right. Yeah, we got a full boat today, guys. So
Mind blown.
The boat's about to capsize.
Harrison, can you give us a description of the show?
7 strangers from all walks of life enter a groundbreaking real-life experiment to see if they can survive and rebuild after a simulated viral apocalypse wipes out most of humanity. That's The Colony on Discovery.
Guys, I have a lot of notes on this.
Oh my god.
This show is like LARPing. Were these people LARPing or were they just acting?
This is I think the big question of The Colony is like, have these people been sucked into this experiment and are picturing themselves in this post-apocalyptic world, or are they acting?
Let's forget about this, that they were 10 experts that were there, and then there were 3 experts that made it. So everyone is an expert in this show, a.k.a. they're all just actors trying to make it some way, somehow. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, can we get a quick what year is this show filmed?
I have no idea.
2009.
It is 2009?
That sounds
2009.
right to me.
It is right.
I
It
feel
felt
like
like a
it should be.
2009 show.
It felt like earlier. It felt like one of the first reality shows.
It definitely feels like
Doesn't
an early reality show in the way that it's not that structured, and it feels like it's a little bit dangerous, maybe.
It's
Yeah.
HD, so you knew it was kind of on the later side.
Barely HD.
It was
Barely-
correctly
barely.
widescreen.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was in
SD.
16:9 format. I'll give
Sure.
you that.
That sounds like a good video series. Barely HD.
Barely
HD.
HD.
So, Chris, are we
All
gonna
right,
do?
let's
do a
I'll do a little
recap.
rundown of what happened this episode. So, 7 people show up and they do some looting, and then they walk 8 miles to this giant warehouse.
But they also
claim.
got looted too, right?
Well,
Is that
So
where
I think you
t-
missed an
Well, they-
important part of the tee up for this, is that they were all put in some kind of sleep deprivation situation at the beginning of this for 36 hours or something.
30.
Guys. Okay.
That's a little minutia.
Minutia. Let Chris.
No, this is
I'm-
important.
it is-
James. This is important.
This is
You
important.
need a mic, Annabeth, if you're going to yell.
This is important.
The men have the mics.
Spoiler alert, this show gets and all of a sudden turns sexist at the end.
What do you mean all of a
which-
sudden? It's racist.
That's not, yes. What?
Okay,
What?
all right, guys. All right, so they get to this warehouse.
Do we talk
Sleep
about the sleep
deprivation. We'll talk
deprivation?
about it in the minutia.
It's not racist. It's sleep. Racist.
Well, also we find out that these 7 people have been chosen by a psychologist, like 2 other experts, and
What is the definition of minutia?
This is important. This is the only premise of the show we have.
Guys, we are 30 seconds into this show so far. We have
All right.
so much time to
7
get through.
random people chosen by no means are in a warehouse.
Yes, no means.
I'll have you know I'm watching the timestamp, but we are 5 minutes into the pod, and you've been yelling about nonsense for all of it. We're so deep in minutia, I can't even believe it.
All right,
Chris,
hold
what
on.
do you have?
So they go to this warehouse together and they try to get basic amenities up and running. So the first thing is they get water, we'll get into it, minutia around the water. There's a lot to talk about. Then they get some fire at the first night.
Because they had matches.
We're getting
You
rid-
shut up with the goddamn minutia
Everyone of these will
already?
have
He's not
some.
wrong,
Jesus.
guys. It's real convenient for
Call it
everything.
like I see it.
They set up some sort of bed situation. Then 3 more people come the next day, which is four more people come and that's real weird. That was really odd. There were some looters in the night too.
No,
This
just
episode's
bangers
always-
on the walls. That's all they were. They're just bangers on the wall.
Marauders.
They're the same people that have jobs at like Halloween Horror Nights. Those were the people that were.
Yeah. We'll get into that.
We're gonna dig into the Marauders.
Then they like get some lights. They get some coffee. Then they do some laundry, and then that was on like day 4, and that was the episode. Now,
There you
there's
have
a lot to talk about. There's
It
lots
rained,
of
there's
it
a
rained in there.
shitload.
That was a big deal when it
Yeah.
rained. Don't forget the rain.
There is no
When the
amount of
rain
minutia that we will
falls
not
down.
unpack in the next hour and a half of this podcast. So don't
Do you
worry.
have the music rights to that song?
Jesus.
yes.
I am
So let's talk
sorry
about
to all.
them. This whole setup of this thing.
Yeah, the
Well,
setup's
like-
important.
maybe we
Chris.
should also intro
Well, James is
that
sitting at the computer.
2 of our number have seen this show before, and maybe we should get like a little bio about how that happened.
Yeah, I want to know how the show got picked because I was really not excited.
Hoo boy. So this is gonna go back to my and James and Chris's college days, although Chris doesn't remember this from college.
I was definitely not a part of this.
I'm
I don't know
looking
what he
at
was
him
doing.
and I can tell that he doesn't remember this.
He
Definitely doesn't.
he played football. He has an excuse.
But
I dabbled.
in one of my
Being
like
an athlete.
business management classes, we watched like the first season of this show.
Hold up. Is this the Colin McCarthy story about good tax, bad tax?
That was an accounting class. It was, it's not.
brutal.
It's
I thought
not
I had
that
the story. I thought I guessed it. I thought I guessed it.
So this is
As it turns out, the business school is kind of it's a little smooth route, some would say, as they're watching some TV shows and movies and talking about good stock and bad stocks
okay, but here's
compared
the
to
thing.
some of these hardcore classes.
But here's the thing: the whole reason we watched this
Miami,
show,
they love hardcore classes. You know what I'm talking about.
the whole reason we watched this show, Chris, is because it's like a great example of all these the different like group dynamics and like personalities like on display. It's like how are people like relating to each other, working with each other, whatever. So it was a part of this class. It was basically about like kind of like group dynamics and stuff like that. So that was kind of the context in which I first saw this show. It's like we like
You watched
wa-
the whole season?
So we watched like the pilot for this show, I think. And I saw like the coming next time, which you saw at the end, and then I came back to the dorm and said, "Hey James,
and at this point, Harrison
The-
rolls in,
this show is insane. We have to watch this show."
and then we watch that show.
And then we watched the
All right,
show.
we'll have to get into. Oh, let me get into it.
What a
Was
bad,
was the show
yeah.
good after episode 1?
I would say that this show is good.
Does
I
it
would say that
get
this
does
is
it
a
get
good
better,
show. I would say like
or is it like same quality?
the thing that is not obvious about this show, but like which it kind of leans more into as it goes, is it becomes about like the inventions that these survivors are making to be able to kind of survive in this post-apocalyptic world. So like in this one we saw their first invention was this like water filter, where it's like they kind of pour this water through like layers of like sand and charcoal so that it gets filtered out. In like future episodes, they're making all kinds of crazy shit. And, like you can kind of see like by like some of the people they picked, how some of them are like mechanical engineers and like fabricators and mechanics and like all these kind of like they have this kind of set of people that's who are like real like handymen. And a lot of the shows like they're like doing these projects, like they're making these things, which is kind of interesting. I
You
would say.
guys made me watch The Cube and Cube 2 instead of this show. That's why I don't remember it, because I vomited after both of watching those, and I was completely sober.
But hey,
You
hey,
vomited after watching Cube and Cube 2
I was
Hypercube?
sick.
Why
for
would
3
you
days.
watch both? Like, wouldn't you get enough of Cube and then not go to watch
No,
Cube 2?
so we watched Cube our sophomore year, and then I took 2 years off, and then we did Cube Hypercube.
So this
and I
wasn't
completed
a
with
back to
them,
the-
and I
back
said,
to back.
Please do not let me watch this.
But-
I'm gonna be sick. And everybody's like, "Oh no!" And then our good friend Dave Paparelli halfway through looked at me and goes, "I get it now. This is my Everest."
But have you watched the prequel to the Cube movies called Cube Zero?
Cube
No,
Zero,
I
baby.
like having my fluids inside my body, so I'm not trying to vomit again by watching.
All right,
the show.
guys, we're done with the Cube talk.
But hang on. What if the rooms are moving?
Oh man, that
The
was
rooms are
crazy.
moving, guys.
The rooms were
All right.
moving.
So
Let's get back to this show.
So you think the show is real, Harrison? These people are like they're like LARPing in this like
Wait,
Warehouse?
who's
No,
Harrison?
you're
I
missing
only
the
know
point.
Indy.
So that is like the big question of the show. Obviously, is like are they acting or have they been like tricked into this scenario because of sleep deprivation and by being put in these circumstances and like surrounded by all these things? Like,
Oh, they're definitely
are they believing that they are in this situation or are they just totally acting?
Well, also it's in LA, so like, is the casting call like? Do people think they should be acting for a movie?
no.
Great question.
I think
But maybe.
the two options here, they're acting or they're like playing like some sort of live action role play. Like they're like role playing that they're in this situation.
Yeah. Because my boy Mike took it a little too serious, and we'll dive into it a little bit more when he was ready to just like bust some heads open. Also, that guy's gonna murder at least 40 people
But
out of like 10 people.
here's the thing. Mike doesn't seem like he's acting. Mike just seems like he's kind of lost in the situation a little bit, I feel like.
Well, he
Well-
lost his coffee. Oh, sorry. I mean, I think that's what you're going to say. He lost, his three main vices: smoking, beer, and
Coffee?
coffee.
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 And he was dying. And when they finally brewed coffee on the day and a half through this show, all the important things they got through water, lighting. Somehow there was 80,000 car batteries in this warehouse.
A lot of car batteries in this warehouse.
He's a modern man. He has to have his clothes washed every 2 days. So
It was a pin being taken out of his head when he got the coffee.
All right, guys.
So I do want to add some context from the internet. The people on the show do know what they're getting into. So there is an archive webpage from like their casting call and all that. And basically it's like you're casted for the show, The Colony, and you get on, but it's like any other live reality TV show, right? You know the premise, but I think they're just acting the way they are because they are 30 hours sleep deprived, which is going to shake anyone up.
all right.
So
yeah.
that should be a segment. Like, it should just be Noah interneting.
Oh,
You guys
that's
should
so
do that.
close to what we actually call it.
That's an actual segment of the show.
Oh, way. I love it. God, man, I'm getting this podcast thing.
Yeah.
Also, guys, I don't know if you saw that on there. You know what that reminded me a lot of is when things went down in Chernobyl. And so I really want to just dive into that right now, is how good that first episode was of Chernobyl.
This segment is called Yacht Lovers.
All right. So
Yeah. I mean, it was amazing. That first episode is one of the best TV
So they go
just
through- Cut 'em
series
off.
shows
Cut 'em
of all
off.
time.
Mute the
I'm just
mic.
saying.
Kill the mic.
they
How-
they
how
go
many-
through and loot supplies.
How many Ronkins was that first episode?
Why are they looting supplies?
3.1. No.
The first thing, and then moving 8 miles. Like, what do they even know to pick up? Like, I'm so confused.
It
when you
is-
get into the show.
It is very unclear, like the context in which they are released from their sleep deprivation area into the world to try
Yeah.
and survive.
Yeah.
I think they were like told, like, hey, you gotta grab some food, you gotta grab all this stuff, you get into this place.
It's like, hey, like follow the LA River, loot stuff along the way, and like look for a place to stay. And then like
Also-
they literally have like a big like sign on a fence that says like sanctuary like this way with an arrow that's like pointing to the place where they're supposed to be.
So-
Yeah, but they had to give him some context because, like, if you're just straight up walking in real slow, 8 miles is going to be at least 2 hours, right? So, like,
That's gonna be a long time to walk.
right, and so I think they're definitely like, hey, no, keep going. There is an end. Otherwise, they're just gonna be like, what the hell are you trying to do?
Well,
here?
it's wild though, because this is like obviously like old school reality TV, and we see this happen in literally 5 seconds. And if this was like modern reality TV, this would be a whole episode of them trying to find the place.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it happens in no time, and there's no struggle. But like, of course, it takes so long to walk that many miles.
What if they didn't walk that many miles?
Oh.
Well, they didn't because they were on like a key LA bridge that was obviously shut down, so that they could then just be on that bridge for no reason other than just be like, just for the shot, just for the shot.
It's true. They were on some bridge that like does not look like it usually has like a ton of cars on it. Like, you think they use it
yeah.
for like marketing or something? Like, why shut down that bridge?
I think it's getting at an interesting point, which like later in the show, spoilers, but they eventually wander outside of this
How
sanctuary.
dare they?
And what I think is interesting is that whatever part of LA this is, I am not an LA expert. I don't really know the area that well. But wherever the hell they are, it's very deserted and kind of apocalyptic looking. And I don't know how much of that was like done by the studio and producers, or that's just what it looks like.
It's like it is not just this gigantic like abandoned factory that they've like decided to settle in. But, like, there's like some kind of like radius around it where there's a bunch of other like abandoned buildings and houses and shit that like later in the series they go out on like adventures to loot. Obviously, they run into some of these marauder guys along the way.
Spoilers,
but,
guys.
Spoiler alert.
So I mean, it's also very limited too in the sense that it has to be like what the studios use, because that same area is the same area used in like probably like True Detective season 2. I think Transformers was in that same exact area as well. So the area that they're going into is just very set up as a
Is this
Hollywood
just
studio.
a backlot?
So it is not. Again,
The internet corner strikes
Internet
again.
corner.
you're damn straight. It's very clear on the internet where they shot this. Today, this is a budding area of LA. I'm like looking on Google Maps and there's businesses
Gentrifying.
coming around. There's Tacos Indiana nearby that has 4.5 stars on Google. So pretty good tacos.
Just do a taco plug? Are you shitting me?
Do we get sponsors for that?
I get paid on the
Do we
side.
get a kickback on that?
I get free
Getting
tacos.
paid per taco on that
But
one.
what I am trying to say, it is a real part of LA. If you dive deeper on the internet, what the studio did was kind of like block off a couple streets and created like a kind of set in this like offshoot of LA.
This is
Totally.
a real expensive reality show.
Oh yeah.
This is like one of the most expensive reality shows.
This is before like gentrifying and all that. So like
I
that
don't
real
know.
estate
Yeah.
property was.
I'm
not-
sure it's not.
2009, it's the very beginning.
Yeah, no,
It's the
this
beginning,
area
that's what
does not
I'm
look
saying.
that good. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
Like,
kind
this is
of
the beginning
checking
of
out
it.
what was there. It was probably a pretty
No, I'm
desolate.
I think
Sure.
it's the opposite. This show, I think, is very cheap to produce.
No, they're not.
No, is this
they're
south
running whole
of
blocks?
West Covina?
They're renting whole blocks
No.
here. Most reality shows just rent a house. Like this is way more expensive.
Are you talking about like renting a few
they're-
blocks of like a shitty area?
It is like an area that could pass as a post-apocalyptic
Right.
condition area.
Yeah, but there's multiple buildings. They're closing off streets. Like they're closing off bridges.
I mean, they're not
Those
renting
years-
like, the pier or, the beach
Yeah.
or something.
Half of our TV shows are in a studio that the the place already owns. Like, come on.
I think that area was pretty easy for them to rent. I think the houses that they owned and all that in the other reality TV shows probably cost more because, bless you, is that they ended up, because those are bigger properties and the insurance that they have to pay on those properties. And are you okay, James? James almost hurt his hands. I don't know if the listeners know how much that James has been going through right now with his hand.
All right.
And he's been getting through things, and we're really proud of him.
So
And-
the
and
first
he had
thing these people do is they try to clean
great
water
doctor's
at this
appointment.
where-
The metal
Wait,
rod
no,
came out
they
today.
set
We're
up
proud
the
of him
bed.
anyway.
Put
Right?
your hands together for James, everyone.
Everybody, put your hands together for James.
All right.
Oh, sorry, James.
Was it cleaning the water first? Right? That's what they did first was clean water. And then they set up the beds. Where did they get this motherfucking charcoal at? Like, I'm so confused.
There
Yes.
is so like the basic
Let's
like
talk about charcoal.
like the basic setup for this whole show and like while these projects are possible is that they are camped out in like an abandoned factory and there are all kinds of things around. There are car batteries, there's bags of charcoal, there's bags of sand, there's all kinds of shit around.
Brought to you by Kingston.
Kingsford Barbecue Pitmaster All-Star.
Grand champion.
Oh man,
You can't leave him hanging.
Grand champion.
You can't leave the grand champion. What are you doing?
Yeah. It seems very set up to have some of this stuff. Like,
I mean, like they've definitely left them like a bunch of things with which they can do projects. Like,
do you think
there's
that they
no doubt.
like gave some sort of hint that you should use charcoal and sand? Or did they just hope that you knew somebody in there knew?
This is a great segue because that's why John's MVP. Not only was he working for either Dell or IBM, at the
IBM.
time, IBM, because
Software engineer for IBM.
Software. He was also figured out, and he knew how to filter water with sand, charcoal, and all. I mean, if you throw me out there, like I've done some nature things, I would have no idea how to filter water. I'm just gonna boil it.
Like,
yeah, I would have just boiled it.
for sure. Like this dude is like your stereotypical like old school software dev guy, and he just knows something about everything basically.
It's great.
MVP.
I think what's interesting about this
Most
is John,
valuable
right?
programmer.
Is
Yes.
John over time he continues to like kind of be this personality that has these ideas. He's kind of the idea guy. And I think one of the things that's fun to watch over time with John is how people react to that. So like, this is a true social experiment where we get to see how these people interact with each other over time. And I think that's actually a thing of the show that kind of gets really interesting because like it feels like these people just get wrapped up in themselves and like who they're becoming on this show, and they just like get real into it. Mike continues to be the security guy. John is like the idea guy. At some point he's taking it to the chalkboard. He's drawing up like blueprints for designs. And then you have the experts sort of explain what he's explained. Is like, oh, so what he's talking about is whatever. And I don't know. I think that's one of the things that appeals of the show.
They have like picked like a set of people with a really good mix of skills that could be important to like this kind of survival situation, I think.
It's like if Liam Neeson was divided into like 7 people.
Yeah, but they also then have a karate teacher and personal trainer thrown into the mix, which
I
It's
think
just
self-defense is important, Noah. This is a post-apocalyptic world, and people are attacking you. If you don't know how to defend yourself, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
real post-apocalyptic world, very true. In a reality TV show, weakest link.
So what do you do? I want to say, okay, you're in
Hold
the
on.
show. Noah's in the show, and you're like, oh, I know this is a TV show. So do you just like stand there and get attacked? What do you do?
If I'm on a TV show, I do the calculus. Are they really going to start punching and cutting folk on the TV?
On the
So
folk-
this is a good time to.
folk.
So this is a good time to talk about the Marauders and kind of what this whole situation is, because like basically they have set up this whole situation where they have this like group of actors who are these Marauders who effectively like harass this group of survivors and like steal their shit and basically like fuck stuff up. So like they'll be like sleeping in the middle of the night. All of a sudden these dudes are banging on the gate trying to get in, whatever. So I think that like that's kind of part of the whole like psychological part of this, and I think that it's a little bit weird in the first episode, like how bought in people are are to this. But I feel like as time goes on, like people actually are living in these.
They're all in.
They're actually like
They're all in.
They are
Like, let's
living
not-
in these conditions. They're sleeping with this shit. They are dealing with these assholes coming to try to fuck their shit up like all the times. Like they are living in this situation. So I can definitely understand how it would kind of wear on you and push you in kind of this like survival mode like over time for sure.
Guys, biggest question I have from this.
Hit me.
Who is going to get a little hooching on that 6-person bed first?
Anthony
Because,
Bourdain.
it's going to start happening at some point, everything gets kind of solved, sexual tension. Who are betting odds to be the first people that hook up in this show?
Well, clearly the software developer. He's what's his name?
John.
Hey, I'm just saying, John was naked in the very first episode.
I don't
That's
think
true.
John's hooking up first. I mean, John might be
First to be naked,
doing
though.
something with something else, but he ain't doing something else. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that get naked very fast. Doesn't mean that they're the first
Well,
ones to get anything.
Let me twist this question on you. Chris, do you think there are any cuties in this show?
I mean, I don't want to say that, and I don't want to objectify anybody. So,
But-
I mean, like,
but-
that's just
but-
like, I mean, my betting favorites would be, Joey and I believe her name was Amy.
Who's Joey?
Joey's the new guy. He's the guy that did some time.
Oh, the convict.
Joey the contractor.
Joey the contractor.
Convict or contractor?
Guy.
6 years. 6
That's
years.
my first pick is the one of like, all right, and then he's already saying that he's the one that's gonna do like morally be corrupt, and I just see him trying to like he's gonna be the one that you're like, oh no, you're gonna hook up with that guy, Amy. Don't do it. George is so much better. Like you should do that. You guys are made for each other. But instead, like it's gonna be Joey and Amy, and we're all gonna be upset.
But what
about
about Allison?
What about? Oh man, I mean that's still like jury's out of like what she's about. She also was there like as walking in, and that was it. And we were like, okay, what else does she have? We know the least about Allison after the first episode. And
Is
that's
Allison the
pretty important.
nurse or the aerospace engineer?
Great question. We don't know.
I think neither.
I have-
Internet corner. What do you got?
No, there
I think she's a nurse.
are 2 women in the first pack.
2 ladies.
Yeah, there was
She was in the second pack. Allison's in the second pack.
Oh, so she's a marine biologist.
marine biologist. Yeah.
What does she bring to the table then?
That's a great question.
Marine biology, you idiot.
Knowledge of
Other than
sea
being a
life
cutie, I guess.
and things about
In
the
Says
the
the guy
water.
who
middle
won't
of LA.
objectify.
No,
She's
I'm not
got-
objectifying. Just-
No, they're going to befriend the dolphins, and the dolphins will teach them society.
All those
Uh,
dolphins in LA.
Yeah.
So this kind of tees up like a pretty key moment in this first episode. So like these people have already kind of been like absorbed into the situation for a full day, I guess, at this point, and out of nowhere, like a group of kind of like 4 strangers starts basically like beating on the gate and saying, "Hey, we are also survivors of this apocalypse situation. Let us in, like we're trying to survive." And this is kind of like the start of like some of those interesting like group dynamics, because even though 1, they're on this reality show, and 2, they've been there for like a day, they're already starting to get like pretty defensive against this like group of 4 people that are starting to come in. There's like, oh man, I don't know what's going on with these people. Like, okay, like we can let them in, but like we gotta search all their shit and make sure like they're okay or whatever. And like it's amazing like how hardcore they're getting about letting these people in.
Totally.
They're definitely LARPing real hard here. They're like really into it.
They're super into it.
The what's the really angry guy?
Mike.
Mike. That's his defining characteristic. Is he's just really angry, but really into this.
Well, it's
He
fair,
doesn't-
like we said though, because he doesn't have his 3 vices, smoking, alcohol, and coffee.
So like when these people come in, he's like, "No, don't let him in. Keep him out. Look what are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, they're allowed in. The producer said they're allowed in." But like some of the other people were like, "Of course we'd let everyone in. Everyone's allowed in." I'm like,
Which brings me
Wouldn't
to
you-
Morgan.
"Wouldn't you
I
would
don't know,
never?"
How do you not know that they're marauders though? How do you not?
Yeah,
know?
exactly. That's
That's
why I'm
the
like,
thing,
it
because
doesn't.
those marauders were there the first night, and these like supposed new friendlies show up the next day. You don't know. Are
How
they
do you
the same
not-
people?
They might be actors trying to fuck with their situation.
Yeah, exactly.
This again circles me back to Morgan, who is definitely the person that lets in the worst, like, person that's gonna kill everyone. It reminds me of the Bird Box when they let in the one guy that then like ends up opening the blinds and all that. Like that's who Morgan is, the one that's like, let's let this guy in, even though everyone's like, yo, this is like, it's a consensus, like this is the worst person, we should not let them in. It's so obvious because it's like some would almost say it's scripted. And they would then let this person in, and Morgan would be the one dude and just be like, I told you, Morgan, we shouldn't let this happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't trust her.
There's that. I agree with you that this is like the most scripted.
There is that.
Feels the most scripted.
There
like
it is.
most people would not let these people in, but like some of the other pieces feel less scripted.
Less
We're
scripted.
talking about how when Mike looked out the window,
When Mike was leaning out that fucking window and
he
it's
looked
like,
like Popeye,
hey, who's out there?
Who's out there?
and they're like,
Hey, come
5
over
feet
here.
higher than they are. Like, hey,
Just leaning out there with like a lead fucking pipe. Just like, you trying to come
Yeah.
in here?
They all come up with like they all find like bats and like weapons as this is happening. So they're like,
This is a key theme of the show, is this whole question of security and like how far do you take the security, and like how absorbed in the situation have you been versus how much are you aware that the people that you are securing yourself against are actors.
guys,
Like that is a key part of this whole show.
guys, imagine if they actually filmed like one pilot season and they had a crazier Mike when they actually let those other 4 people in, and
Oh
then
my
crazy
God.
Mike actually just as soon as they walked in bashed in the heads of like 3 of these people. Like, oh no, this was just a reality TV show. You went too far.
Like I
Yeah.
definitely wonder how many reality TV shows have been produced that have like gone south like that have just kind of been like covered up.
It's like, oh
murdered
shit.
3 of the 4 people
like-
coming in.
Yeah,
Definitely
like,
a good amount. I'm
Like
sure.
I am sure that it has happened.
Yeah.
A good amount? What?
100%.
Okay, wait.
Yeah,
Can you go to the
what?
internet corner, please, and validate? You can't just say things like
I will
there was
check
a
it
good
out.
amount.
But no, I was thinking of a twist of the show too, where they actually end up taping like several colonies in isolation in the same area, and then like halfway through the season, they start bringing them together.
I'm into that.
Some shit's gonna go down.
What if one would call this like some sort of utopia, and they're trying to throwback
Well, there's something
I
weird
get it.
about.
I get it.
Throwback to season 2.
season
Season
1?
1.
Oh my
That's
God.
the first
Season
episode
1,
of
Noah.
episode
Noah,
1.
Drink.
S1E1 of the podcast. Anyway, so like the second
Wait, is that
group
the
of
pilot episode?
Oh yeah.
You guys just threw it back to the pilot.
we did.
At ease, soldier.
There's the second night there's motorcycle looters this time, and like Mike's having none of those people either. He's up in like trying to get everyone awake. I'm like, why are you waking everyone up? What are they gonna do?
Well, there's something weird where
You're gonna
so they
motorcycle.
cut to the experts that like decide what's gonna happen on the show, and they're like, "This is what we think the people are gonna do. Like, this is really gonna band them together." And there's a part where someone says like we will never hurt them, we will never swing at them, but they don't know that. And
Yeah.
it's like, why don't they know that? Because all these people come out with as many weapons as they can find in this house, which are a lot.
Yeah.
It definitely sets up a very dangerous situation when the participants do not know that these other people are not going to hurt them because they are they're arming themselves.
And let's just say that Mike, at one point after it, said, "You should have let me out there because I would have taken out one of these guys and I would have had his bike. Like, that guy just wanted the bike. Also, it was a nice bike. I mean, if that's a
Nice, but I mean, like, imagine you could tear that thing apart for a bunch of parts for running some shit. I don't know.
Why is also every post-apocalyptic like movie, reality series, everything just has the nicest motorcycles? Like, why are we always living in a world after where motorcycles are the only form of transportations and they're all made by Orange County choppers?
You gotta rep, where you getting those motorcycles. They gotta pay.
When have we watched Orange County Choppers? Though?
We have
need to
not.
do that. We need to get that in the queue.
All right.
Immediately.
I put in the queue.
We got to do it.
Double episode tonight.
Also, I don't think Mike says it right now, but I have this quote written down. You're messing with my reality. I'm gonna mess with your reality.
Oh yeah.
And I forget when that was. I think it might be when the other looters the other people were coming in.
Also, there's a woman who has a large pencil as a weapon.
Yo,
I didn't
Do
know
we all
that.
remember that?
I did
No.
not see that.
Pointy.
Do we remember this?
No.
This is Amy because
It's a huge
Amy wouldn't do
pencil.
Hey,
It's kind of like a walking stick. But
I
it's
want
a
to talk
pencil.
about this giant pencil for a
Let's
second.
do it.
Hey,
Hey.
Chris, what do you not want to have on the end of a pointy thing of boron?
graphite. You don't want graphite.
You don't want graphite.
graphite. You
You
don't
know what
want
has a
want
pointy thing
graphite.
of graphite at the end? A giant thing of pencil.
Oh,
Yeah,
why do you bring
try
this
that.
up, Max?
Because Chernobyl, hell of a television show.
Hell of a television show. It got kind of weird a little bit at first.
On
when you had
HBO, everyone.
HBO Go, all where you can get it from all your streaming platform devices.
Apple TV, Roku, Samsung TV, Vizio TV,
It's a little hard at first because you got to wrap your head around the fact that everyone's
Amazon
British
Fire Cube.
in the show, and then
All
like,
right, guys.
some
All
of
right,
the
we're gonna
cast
roll
is
it
from,
back.
Like, Dunkirk, and you're just like, wait a second, did this happen in the UK or did this happen in Russia?
So now
But,
they're trying to
I mean,
set
by
up.
the
They're
different
trying.
amount of architecture that they had going on, it worked.
They're trying to set up these lights, and they find like 40 like car batteries, and like half of them seemingly work.
Some of them on
It's
charge.
quite nuts. And then they're always like, this will last us a week, but we'll have to figure out a way to charge these things. And the next time on, they find solar panels.
So I would critically say that one of the 4 people that rolled up, this guy Vlad, is some
Vladdy.
kind of an engineer who, as time goes on, proves to be critical to the inventions that they're trying to.
Also,
Oh, yes.
Vladimir, also Russian, also was a British guy, which takes me back to Chernobyl.
All right.
He was definitely.
All
Okay,
right.
we're gonna pivot.
Because
We're gonna
everybody in
pivot.
Ukraine is
We're gonna-
actually British,
hang on.
right?
It turns
Hang
out
on,
like that.
hang
I
on.
think
We're
it was
gonna-
a radioactive
we're gonna
material that turned them into all
Pivot.
British people.
Pivot. We're gonna talk about the most important thing on this television program, which was socks. There was
I was gonna-
socks, grilled socks.
unbelievable that happened.
Grilled
with
socks!
socks.
Grilling them
Yeah. So the first night
So-
when they make
socks
fire,
on the grill.
How long do you think you would go without socks, Chris Lorenz? If you were on this program, how long would you take until you were like, oh, I need to do something with the socks?
Well-
I'm going to call on Max.
As a huge fan of flip flops, forever days.
what if you don't
All
have
right.
flip flops though?
What if it's deep winter?
Have you ever watched the film The Social Network where Mark Zuckerberg flip flops around in the snow?
Fair.
He's
created
now a
Facebook.
gajillion. He's now a gajillionaire.
That's why we have the internet corner over here.
He did something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you guys gave me a task to find out how reality shows could go wrong.
Boom, back to the internet
All right, we're
corner.
going to pivot.
So
I'll back to the sock thing though in a little bit because I love grilled
honestly,
socks.
this
The
is an
socks.
article from Hollywood Reporter, so reputable site from 2013.
Ooh.
Mark Zuckerberg runs around in the snow.
Could be. The title of the headline: The Dark Side of Reality TV. 27 tragic deaths.
What? Whoa.
So
we didn't even bring up John.
I
bringing
am
up his dead son
reading
in
through,
this
and
too
about
yet.
like half the deaths are like directly from like shooting the show.
Oh,
Wait.
that's a
Shooting?
lot.
You really emphasize shooting there.
So like some
you did that so weird. They all did it from shooting
so
the show.
some of the deaths are like they just happen to be famous from reality TV, but some of them were like, oh, they were doing a parachute like exercise.
Again, why do you keep emphasizing the word shoot?
Well, it's also
King the show. Everyone was
Maybe.
shot while they were filming, and had nothing to do with the actual death.
Anyway, so that was in 2013. You can imagine what's happened.
All right,
In
so
the
give
past
us
6
one
years.
internet corner. Give us one story on
no
on
stories
reality
are fine.
shooting
Okay,
the shows that went wrong.
we're okay. We
Yeah,
don't
no.
need any of that.
So the top one,
Oh no, we're good.
Eric Hill,
Tell me
All
about
right,
Eric
who was
Hill
the
and how you're
competitor on the
laughing.
10th season of The Bachelorette, suffered critical injuries in 2014.
I thought you said the article's in
While-
2013. You just lying? Liar! Whoa!
No.
Science isn't adding up.
Noah, just tell us how he died
Wait, so
and why you're laughing about it.
A shooting.
so the guy died
show.
while paragliding in Utah after his parachute collapsed. He went
That
into a coma
sucks.
and he died. But what is shocking?
There's literally the scene from Wedding Crashers.
No, but the article-
I'm paragliding. Look at me, babe. What an idiot. Anyway, that's Will
the
Ferrell.
article's timestamped April 2013. I can't understand why that is from 2014.
Oh, number 2's
Oh,
the guy from.
man.
It's a conspiracy.
Cons-
it really is.
It's a Back to the
well, I hit
Future
the wrong
2
button.
shit.
Yeah, you hit a Viagra ad.
Why are you getting Viagra
Wow,
ads?
sponsor
No.
right there.
Hey, everyone needs some
Male
medication.
dysfunction.
Yeah.
No, that's not it.
So
We'll follow up on this later. I'll send it out to the pod
The second
messenger.
one is the guy from the West Virginia show, though.
Yeah, Buck Wild.
But, oh,
What is
classic
Buck Wild?
I remember
And
that
why is
show.
it not on our list?
Because that guy died and they canceled the show after that. He's like
Oh,
the main guy from
shit.
it. Anyway, we're segueing
All right.
So I don't know
back
if we
in.
have the information or the capacity to deal with the emotional
So-
trauma that we're getting into right now.
So it starts.
Let's get back to
It
socks.
starts. Do you want? It starts
Let's talk
pouring.
about the socks, though.
But what about the
You
rainbow?
and me, baby, we're gonna talk about.
There's
socks.
nothing. Just it's gross. Okay, guys, we can move on. We can move past the socks.
No.
All right, let's talk
They
about
make
SOX 1
2 days
compliance.
in, they make their own socks.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
make their own socks.
Because they're grilling their own
They
socks for no
grill-
reason. Just
they
hang
make-
your socks up.
their socks.
You're in LA. There's sun all day.
What temperature is it outside?
They literally.
It's
Why
def-
do they need this?
It's definitely winter.
What is happening?
But it's LA winter. It's like Florida winter. I remember like, oh man, I need to take my socks off. And they weren't making a big deal of like, oh, they took their socks off. Their feet are going to get really cold. They're just like, there's glass. And then John, later in the episode, just running around naked outside. So obviously it wasn't that big of a deal.
You can't just make that jump now. Okay, let's be clear. This was on like day 4. They haven't showered. There's no deodorant. There's no toothpaste. Let's be clear.
But the feet
And it
is safer
rains.
after 3 days?
No,
2
no.
days?
It rains, and then you're like, hey, I need to get outside and get cleaned off. And he's like, this feels very liberating.
Yeah, but he's barefoot because he's still. It's not like he's got his fake socks on.
He's
it's not like he's got his
buck-ass
other
naked.
This is
socks
here's
on.
the thing. Here's the thing.
And they're just like making a huge deal about why they needed to make socks, and like they're just like need to grill the socks for some reason. We don't see what happens after though. They're grilling socks. We don't see the post sock look because I guarantee
They had washed the clothes and they had to dry them.
that was still 2 days before they washed the clothes. They grilled the socks. We never see what happens with the socks after. They just kind of are like, oh, we should probably just clean this up because they grilled their socks for some
2
reason.
days in. It's 2 days in.
They did mention
Are you
some-
not grilling socks? If there's anything I've learned on Barbecue Pitmasters All-Stars Grand Champion Season 2 is that you
Kingsford
gotta grill the
Choco.
socks
They're
with
not-
Kingsford Choco, competition grade Choco.
They're not even doing that 2 days in on Survivor. Like, I mean, it's just
They
there's
mentioned
no reason.
They mentioned their socks were wet for whatever reason.
Again, hang up your socks, bring them out, and
But it's the
6
middle
hours,
of the
you're good.
night.
It was in the middle of the day.
It was the middle of the night.
middle of the day.
You know, and your socks are wet. I'm not wearing those socks. There's a fire. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Even
here.
if it's
Not,
the middle-
not only do they grill their socks to dry them, they make fake socks out of bubble
Yeah,
wrap. Like,
styrofoam
what?
bubble wrap.
Styrofoam?
Okay,
They
okay,
were
okay.
out of like envelopes, like FedEx envelopes you use to, like ship stuff or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. That whatever. You act like if your feet are cold, you wouldn't like some nice toasty warm socks.
If it's a post-apocalyptic situation, the last thing I'm worried about is like, hey, you know how we have all that duct tape and styrofoam we might need at some other point for really important things?
Socks.
Let's waste it all on my feet right now because I need socks.
I totally disagree. Your feet are super vulnerable. I am with James. Like, you take care of your feet because if you can't walk around, guess what? You ain't doing much of anything.
Hey, if you,
I totally agree with you. I just do not think 2 days in that your socks have fallen apart enough that this is the issue.
No, soaking wet socks.
Guys,
Definitely 2 days in.
they
You're
were
taking care of that.
standing in the
Dry
LA
them.
River submerged in water.
and
That was
fine.
gross.
I don't have an issue with them. My issue isn't with them trying to dry their socks. It's how they try to dry their socks.
Okay, I have
don't-
another point to bring to the sock table. So we have
The sock
we have
grill.
7 survivors who like enter the stage, and then 4 people enter later. The 4 people, one of them has a
Stop playing.
suitcase. Correct? One of them has a suitcase full of clothing.
At least 2 of
that
them.
is like
Correct.
searched. How much stuff are these people allowed to bring?
Yeah, that guy just also all of this stuff
That's a
was
big
all-
question.
All this stuff was all white. Like everything that they open up, I just remember like he had a black suitcase and they're just pulling out like white underwear, white shirts, white
socks?
pants,
Are there
white
socks?
You're just like
How many socks were
Socks
there?
for the
what's this
team?
guy
How many
going on,
pairs of
color
socks
run
are we
after
talking
this?
about?
Like what's going on around here?
So to answer Annabeth's question, it seems about like they all have about a duffel bag or small overhead bin size suitcase worth of stuff that they've at some point been allowed to bring in that they've been carrying into the show.
Whatever you can carry 8 miles.
Right.
Well, this
8
is
miles.
also,
I think
like,
that's
this
I
is-
think that is the test.
I
Actually.
mean, I actually don't fault this against the program because I love the mystery, but like there is no explanation that people are allowed to bring anything. Like
yeah,
people
well,
just show
welcome
up.
to reality TV. They never
Well,
explain
no, but
anything.
but I do think that like with modern reality TV, like they go into the details like way too much and like it's really annoying. Like this, like everything that happened in this program would have been like 10 programs on like a current like sort of
Are you
ABC
saying
What are these
Program?
words?
program?
Can I?
It would
Do
be like here how we pick the people. That would be a whole episode. And it
Do you
would be
mean, like,
here how
oh.
the people walked to the sanctuary?
Do you
whole
mean
episode,
program?
You know?
No, I think she
Pogrom.
means pogroms like those things in Russia.
Yeah,
You know, like, you know what that reminds me of?
Jews. Yeah.
No, but like
No.
That's not what happened.
what else happened in Russia?
No.
Chernobyl happened in Russia.
Oh.
Maybe that's why they got it wrong, is because they were saying programs instead of programs. Maybe that's it. I love how you say programs, and I'm gonna start
It's
saying
just
it
like
programs
it's
from
like
now
a
on.
cool UK reality
No,
show.
it sounds like casual racism, but it's okay.
Whoa.
Wow, that took a turn, and we did a whole
Just
like,
making
death
sure you're
segment.
aware.
We were on
Casual
the same yet.
racism?
All right.
Just
so
making sure you're aware.
Later on this episode, they figure out how to make coffee.
That's
It's-
another thing. Yeah, as
like,
we
this,
segue.
like,
I don't
they're
know what
like-
the handle is right now. Wow.
They're like, we need to get this sledgehammer.
These people
We're
are
gonna take a
freaking
sledgehammer to the
addicted.
segment.
These people are very addicted to coffee. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
People are losing their minds. They're like, it's been 4 days and I haven't had a cup of damn coffee. I'm out of control. Let's make some coffee. So somehow, not only is there just a bag of coffee beans lying around this warehouse, then they have a coffee pot. They boil some water.
No, John or somebody brought coffee beans somehow, some way, and then they're just taking a sledgy to it.
I have
Gotta
no
crush
idea.
it up.
There you go.
Was he allowed to bring coffee?
In a suitcase of mystery.
Okay.
Somebody brings all white clothes, somebody brings coffee. Like, that's the rules in a post-apocalyptic situation.
I mean, you're definitely trying to hoard that coffee if you find coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I think they probably found it in the factory because they found like a bunch of other kind of canned foods and that kind of stuff.
I really can't remember if alcohol ever comes into play on this show. Do you remember that?
Do not remember.
Because I really wonder if Michael, I can't remember if he was an alcoholic. And I wonder if that
Oh,
like comes into
man.
play later.
He definitely seems like he's like
Right.
getting
In this
over
first
something.
episode, there's hints of
There's no way that they would let him have a drink of alcohol because 3 shots in, he would actually murder one of those fake looters.
that would be some great TV
So-
though.
Yeah, but then one of those fake looters is dead, and then we don't actually ever see this thing.
Two questions about the show. Do they ever introduce a host? And also, do they ever have like, a challenge and you can get the alcohol if you win the challenge?
there's no host, and it is totally unsupervised. There are no challenges. That's it.
How
no one ever
long were
steps in.
how long were they out doing this?
I'm not sure what.
10 weeks.
I'm not sure. Oh, it was 10 weeks.
They say it in the beginning of the show.
10 weeks.
10-week social experiment.
But how many
and-
episodes is the show?
There's basically
3.
something like.
I think it's about 10.
So it's basically something like towards the end where it's like an opportunity to like escape LA and like go somewhere else will like present itself, and it kind of like turns out that at the
Whoa,
end.
whoa. You're getting into spoiler territory. We
Oh,
should
okay,
not
okay.
ruin it for the
It's
audiences.
fine.
There are some
We'll
things
get-
that
we'll
will
get-
happen and things that they will figure out and engineer, and circumstances will present themselves.
Okay.
Maybe they'll figure it out.
There-
Who knows?
There was some sort of Max. What did you call it? Some weird boat situation.
Oh,
Was it a car boat?
car boat?
The car boat situation.
No,
There
there was
was
no
a
car boat.
there was a boat with 4 wheels under it.
It was a
It's just-
boat on a trailer.
No, it was
Never
def-
seen a boat on land before, Max?
It
It
not
was
a duck boat
no.
or anything.
This was very clearly a car boat.
It was not.
It couldn't have not been any less clear of a car boat.
It was a boat on a
Can you
trailer.
imagine if this warehouse was just actually some old movie studio that they just then went into and just like, oh my gosh, there's a DeLorean in here.
Oh my god, there's a boat car.
All right. Does anyone have the minutia they really need to talk about? Should we just go to ratings? There's
I mean-
other minutia,
Oh,
but
man.
like,
I mean, there's
Yikes.
other minutia that
I
we
th-
could dive into.
I
here.
think that one of the big things here that was consistently compelling with the show is their reaction to the outside invaders and stuff like that, and like what they do in the future to like try and deal with the security situation. Like we got like a little bit of like a flavor of it in the kind of next time on clip package, but the deeper that they get into the situation, the more they believe. Seemingly, the more they believe that these invaders are like trying to take their shit and like really fuck with them. So they start building like increasingly powerful weapons to like try and deal with them. So at some point, like they build like a literal like flamethrower that they can use like out of that window that dude was peeking out of, like for anybody who's rolling up. So if they need to, they can light people on fire if they're trying to come and fuck with them.
there has to be a plan in this show. There has to be somebody in here that's working with their producers to be like, hey, what if we just convince like Greg to go over there and try to make this flamethrower?
So how the show is essentially controlled from the producers is more of these situations that will come up. And some of that will be sort of scripted from the outside without the people that are in the experiment really knowing. So some of that is done through the marauders who are maybe attacking or trying to steal some food or something like that in particular days. Other times it could be in the way form of like radio signals or some kind of communication or signage. And so they'll sort of get some hints of things that like maybe something's happening, or maybe we should go explore some other area, or maybe we should build some sort of vehicle to escape. And so that's essentially how the producers control the show without like a host or like very explicit objectives. Just to lay some
It
groundwork.
just seems like a nuts thing to build no matter what. Like, unless the producers left like the stuff to make the flamethrower and gave some sort of hint, hey, maybe you should make a flamethrower, there's no fucking way anyone makes a flamethrower in this situation.
It's totally unclear.
I get where you're coming from. The reality, though, well, at least as we're led to believe, right? Like, I mean, it's a show. They could show us whatever. But these people have certain particular backgrounds and certain skill sets. Some are doctors. Some are, mechanical engineers. Some are like software engineers. Other people are accountants, and like, it just varies. Some people are machinists and manufacturers or like fabricators. Like, these people have legitimate skills. And so when you put them in a warehouse factory type building with like seemingly a lot of supplies, they can kind of create some interesting stuff. I think that's really what Harrison's getting at, is that's kind of what's interesting of the show over time, is like the shit they started to build collectively. And then you sort of see how the interactions unfold of these little projects.
I don't believe it. I don't believe anyone's like, hey, we're in this warehouse full of random ass shit. Let's make a flamethrower.
What I want to talk about in some of the minutia, and Annabeth, you made a point on this as well, is our boy Joey, who shows up with a pocket knife and then makes a big deal about his pocket knife. He is also the same guy that says, I believe it's when the going gets going, the going gets going, going get going. I think I might have that wrong. Does anyone else have that? Do you remember what I was talking about?
I do, and I also remember he followed that up with something like, once things get tough, all the morals go out the window. He said something like that, and you're just like,
That's right,
what?
that's right, yeah.
Kill that. Like, he made a big
Oh
deal
my
about how he was
God.
going to just come in there and just stir the pot.
Yeah, I mean, that dude seems like he's all in. Like he's either hardcore acting or hardcore convinced that he's in this situation.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't have any other minutia to talk about. So, like, if everyone's okay, we can move to ratings. So, Chris, if you're not aware, do you know how the ratings work?
Yeah, I got it.
So, like, I'm going to put this, I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to put it in the bottom third.
Okay.
I was just kind of bored. Like, I was not invested. I do think this show would be kind of interesting to watch, to get, like, once the, like, colony is more set up and see these people's dynamics within each other seems kind of interesting. I would have loved to see like a little more setup of like maybe almost like a team A versus team B kind of situation. That way the team dynamics would have been really more like a lot more compelling. So it's I think it is begrudgingly in the bottom third, but I just like was kind of checked out and I couldn't see myself watching another episode. James, what do you got for me?
Top third. Here's the thing.
Wow.
First episode.
Whoa.
Bold statement.
Yeah, I know you guys don't like it. We're gonna get to that. We'll get over to that side of the room in a minute. But here's the thing: the first episode is definitely the worst of the season by far. And what's good of the show is exactly what Chris was asking for, and that all starts to happen over time. And so
There's a
those
team B.
You always gotta love when your first episode is the worst episode. Unlike Chernobyl, how about that episode? The first episode of Chernobyl has to be one of the best television
Episodes
episodes just of all
of
time.
all time.
Of all
100%.
time. It was so
Yeah.
good. I mean, it just hooks you in.
All right,
Hooks
let
you
James
in.
continue with his top
Sorry,
third.
that's on me. That's on me.
I think you should throw your pants on the grill though, because they're probably a mess over there. So the thing about the show
I don't know
is
what that
really
means. Are they wet? Did I poop? Did I pee? What happened there?
All three.
All three. Oh, I pooped, peed, and they're wet.
how's Chernobyl though?
Oh man, did you say Chernobyl? I gotta talk.
I
more
did the
about
same thing when I watched Chernobyl.
He's getting
Oh my
paid by
gosh,
HBO.
that first episode, literally my jeans were just wet. I mean, and you just felt so much
Yikes.
when you see the radiation coming down. Somebody said to me, "It is
Where is the host?
It is
Somebody ring
so-
fence
You
this
teed
guy.
him up for
It
this.
is
I
so
can't just be
good.
like
as
every.
as articles,
Somebody mute the mic.
You
as
said
articles that were written about it. It is the best monster movie of the summer, and that has Godzilla King of Monsters in there. Which I'm gonna say this: the plot's a little strange on that one. They go off in different things, but man,
all right, we're
is
not
that
talking
a
about
beautiful,
Godzilla.
spectacular
I'll
cinematography,
give
and I
you
hope they win
Chernobyl,
something,
but you
or at
cannot
least
talk
get
about
recognized
Godzilla.
on how well they did with the CGI and everything else.
James, go.
That was an unbelievable, like, 5
Chris,
minute
I
rant.
want to come back to this, but later.
I mean, why don't we just get on it right now? Max? I think we got the mics. So, are we talking about King of Monsters, Godzilla? Are we
Okay,
talking about-
James,
or are we gonna
stop
go MCU
teeing
right
him
now?
Okay,
up.
so Chris, consider the following. Godzilla beat Chernobyl, but what birthed Godzilla? A nuclear accident. So it's kind of a chicken and egg situation.
Oh my God, what happens if the two shows, if
Because you know what-
Chernobyl
you
is
know what
connected
created
to
nuclear
Godzilla King of
things?
Monsters? Also, if you got
Radioactive
one-
lizards.
You got one show talking about how nuclear things are bad, and you got one show talking about how they're like sticking down a nuclear bomb down to some dragon's throat to save the world. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
give me a lot of different takes on
That's
nuclear
a
power right
Spoiler
now.
alert for Godzilla 2 there, I think.
Okay, and we're
I've
fucking done now.
never
We're moving on.
seen-
Max, shut the fuck up. Next.
What's up? It's top third. It's a great
What?
show.
Max, do you want to intro for like 10 more minutes?
Nope.
Which show are we talking about?
Chernobyl,
Nice.
obviously.
Abby.
All right, Harrison, what do you got?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a top third show again for me. I think that's super interesting to watch. The inventions are super interesting. I love thinking about how these real people are going to interact with these fake actor marauder type people. If I was a marauder, I would be scared that one of these people would injure me in their crazed mental state. Top third.
All right, Noah, what do you got?
Season 4 is starting out like dog shit. I feel like John Lovett's character on The Critic. It stinks. This is another bottom third, but I'll put it at the top of the bottom only because I have so much insight that it gets better. But what I really dislike about this show is you don't know the premise the characters are in. I agree with Chris. There's a lot of things that could make this better. If you know this is more of a challenge thing and like there's a lot of things set up for them to go find different things. But this whole thing, like you don't know if they know the situation they're in. Like there's too much guessing. You can't just sit back and enjoy the show. And for that reason, it's a piece of shit.
Part of the
Oh.
show is the mystery.
Harsh words. Harsh words.
It's a harshly bad show.
All right, Mr. Hayes, Chris, what do
All
you got
right,
for
if
us?
I put my rating system into this, and you're looking at from a Chernobyl down to a Godzilla Kings of Monsters, I'm gonna put about an X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
You're really dating us
It's an
right now.
incomprehensible rating system. Makes
I'm
no
into
sense.
it. Keep it going.
From Godzilla 2 to Chernobyl, it's a Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, it's a Dark Phoenix.
So what does that mean?
No, it doesn't.
So it's worse
So it's
than
on
the
the
worst
shittier
one?
side.
Bingo, Max gets me. This guy gets it.
It's worse
This
than
guy
the worst
gets it.
one.
Max gets me. Yeah, it's not one that I really am gonna seek out to see. If it's in front of me and it's on, like what happened, I'll watch it. But that's about it.
Max, what do you got?
Did you guys know that Toy Story 4 is 99% Rotten Tomatoes right now?
What? I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, baby.
Dude,
Bring it home.
I'm gonna cry so much.
Ooh,
All right.
Okay.
This is the opposite of Toy Story 4. This is a middle of the bottom. It's not the worst show we've watched, which is anything hosted by Donald J. Trump Jr., the senior, the fourth.
So it's like a Cars 2 you're telling me out of Pixar movies.
Yeah, no, this is clearly in the bottom tier, but middle of the bottom. That is a very
Okay,
good.
Okay.
I'm very into this rating system now, the Pixar rating system.
Ooh.
Toy Story 2, clearly a middle third, middle of the middle.
All right.
Oh no, I'd disagree with you there. I
That's-
think Toy Story 2 is a little bit higher up than that.
All right, that's ratings. I think that's it for us this week. I do have some juicy details on a show we've watched before,
Can
but
I
I'll save
take a
them.
guess?
What kind of juice you got?
Can I take a guess?
We'll talk about it next week.
Give me the
Max,
juice.
what's your guess?
Juice.
Game of Clones.
No. A little hotel we went to called Paradise Hotel
Oh.
that ended like a week and a half ago.
Okay.
You have Paradise Hotel juice?
Yeah, my coworker watched the end, so we'll leave that till next time because I think we've gone super long.
Okay.
And it's listen to next time for the juicy details
You know what
on
the-
Paradise Hotel.
Paradise Hotel.
And you can
check
find
out,
us
but
on-
You never have to leave.
Right. That's
On-
the one that song's about. The Paradise Hotel.
On Twitter at whoputthison and facebook.com/whoputthison. You can email us questions and suggestions and who put this on at gmail.com.
Shameless plug. Walking Out with Chris Hayes. Listen to it during the Miami football season. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And let's just say that Mike, at one point after it, said, "You should have let me out there because I would have taken out one of these guys and I would have had his bike. I would have had his bike. Like,